Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Liverpool Transfer Review Show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. The transfer window has finally closed, so no more business happening from the Premier League, maybe in Turkey, because I think their window still has another week before it closes. But because everything has now materialized, and there has been a sort of aftermath in terms of what happened yesterday, transfer deadline, which we'll touch on very shortly in regards to Mark Gahey. What we'll do today, we will assess the whole window. So we'll look at outgoings and incomings, plus we'll look at the bigger picture, which is the squad. Do we have enough numbers? Do we have enough quality to challenge for all major honors this season? So we'll discuss that later in the show. So what we'll do now, we'll go through the outgoings together and see give our opinions if if it was the right decision for us to sell certain players and even some of the signings, are we pleased about the signings that Liverpool have made? So let's go through it together. So the first player is uh Kelleher. Of course, Kelleher became bit of a fan favorite in the end due to his performances in cup finals, especially in penalty shootouts in particular, but more so in terms of his reliability. Whenever called upon, he produced fantastic performances. He was a safe pair of hands, and for us Liverpool fans, we regarded him as the best number two in the league, possibly even Europe, or possibly even in the world. So that's how much we rated Kelleher. But due to his prominent performances in the recent years, there was always going to come to a time where he had to part ways and venture somewhere else where he could become a number one in a different club. So that's what happened earlier this summer, where he made the move to Brentford. It's a 12.5 million move plus a 5.5 add-on, so totaling to an 18 million pound move. I actually thought the fee was quite low considering his quality and what he's done over the years. But context has to need to put into this situation because he had 1 year remaining of his contract, so therefore it was a bit of a lesser fee. But I think Brentford was a good club for him to join. Of course, they're having a few changes themselves in terms of the manager, but of course, a lot of players leaving the team. But I think it's a team where he will get first team football, and it should hopefully enhance his reputation, but of course increase his chances of being Ireland's number one. So yeah, that was definitely the early transfer that happened, and I think it was kind of written on the wall that it was going to happen for Kelleher. The next player is Yaros. So Yaros made, I think, one or two appearances for us last year, but still very highly regarded at the club. He actually signed the contract before he made his loan move to Ajax, and he's joining our former coach in John Heintinger. So for me, it's a good move. It's a move where he'll be playing at one of the best clubs in the Netherlands, but of course he'll also be playing Champions League football. So that can only benefit him, where he gets valuable experience playing at that level, and he comes back to Liverpool as a better keeper. So whether he has a long-term future at the club remains to be seen. But I think this was the right move for him in the end. So yeah, he will be playing Champions League football. We might even see him in some fixtures this season. And the next player, Nat Phillips. Now, Nat Phillips, made his name all those years ago when Van Dijk unfortunately picked up that injury against Everton, and we had to use the likes of Reece Williams and Nat Phillips to get us over the line. And in the end, they helped us, gain Champions League qualification at the end of the season. But since then, he's been pretty much, I can't even quite call him a bit part player because he hasn't barely featured for us. He was, of course, in training and around the squad, but never really got many game time. So the writing was always on the wall for him to leave. For us to even get 3 million for him, I think it's a good bit of business. So West Brom have signed a solid defender, and it will definitely help in regards to their campaign of regaining Premier League promotion this season. Lucas Stevenson had some decent performances in pre-season, but due to his age and his profile, I think a loan move was always on the cards, and he's gone off to join Dundee United for the season. So let's see how he develops over there. Now, Jarell Konsa made the move to Bayer Leverkusen. The fee was 30 million plus 5 million in add-ons. Now, slight surprise for some fans in terms of him moving over to the Bundesliga. I think many of us thought he may have stayed in the Premier League, but I think it's a good move for him. He's in a different league where I feel like he can really flourish and really showcase his talent. He's always had the potential. For him, it's more of a focus in terms of playing at a certain level, but also he's at a stage where he needs regular game time in order to develop further. So for me, this was the right move. I believe he's got a buyback clause as well. So if he does really excel for Bayer Leverkusen in the next couple of years, he will have the option, or Liverpool will have the option to re-sign him again. So for me, it's a good move for him. He's already scored a couple of goals. I did a goal last week. I paid tribute to Diogo Jota, which was a lovely touch there. So he's already, not set the world alight, but he's definitely, you know, made some good performances, and they regard him very highly there amongst the fan base. So a good move for him in terms of the financial package. 35 million is a good fee, if I'm being honest with you. For someone that's a player of potential, I think Liverpool did really good to get that kind of fee for the young defender. Now, Owen Beck, a player that some thought may have broken into the first team this season due to having great loan spells at Dundee United and also Blackburn in the Championship. But I always felt like, he's not quite ready for the first team fold, and the coaches at Liverpool agreed as well. So he's actually made a move to a Championship team in Derby County. It'll be very interesting to see what happens at the end of this run because if he's produced another spectacular campaign there, does he come back to Liverpool as one of our left backs, or is that the time to sell him on, where maybe his stock has risen, quite similar to Ben Doak, and then we use this loan spell to do further business in the market in next year. So remains to be seen. But hopefully, he does well at Derby. I'll be looking forward to seeing, how he performs there. And you never know, he could be one of our left backs in the coming year. So yeah, let's see, how he does. Another player that's gone on loan is Simicas. He went very late on in the window to AS Roma, and the reason why I think it's going to be interesting next season because with his loan deal, there is no option to buy. There is no obligation to buy. There's no clauses. It's a loan spell completely for the year. So that would also indicate that he may return or he may have a future at the club because Robertson is in his final year of his contract. Whether Robertson remains or gets an extension, only time will tell. But I think it'll be very interesting in terms of what happens next summer. Do we give Owen Beck a chance to have a run in the game or run in the team, sorry, or do we give Simicast another run to play cover or challenge for a starting spot with Milos Kerkez? So yeah, should be an interesting one to I would say spectate next year. Now, the next player, probably less said the better, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Of course, he left on a free transfer initially, but because of Real Madrid's participation in the Club World Cup, they wanted him earlier than planned. So therefore, they had to, fork out 10 million for his services. In the end, they didn't win the competition, nor did they gain that much money. Probably gained just about 10 million, if I'm being honest. So um, I think in terms of his reputation with the fan base, the bridges have been burnt. So I didn't really expect anything from that matter. But when I heard the rumor that they wanted him earlier for the Club World Cup, I said it on one of my shows, give us 10 million and then, we'll do business. And that's exactly how it panned out. So in the end, we got something from the Trent situation, uh, better than nothing, I guess, in that regards. Now, another player that made his move is Tyler Morton. Um, Very unlucky last year not to get too much game time under Arne Slot, but he is a player that has gained a lot of interest across Europe. Last season, he was very close to moving to Bayer Leverkusen, but we put on hold to the move because we wanted him to challenge for a first team spot. Fortunately, it never really happened for him. He picked up a couple of injuries, which didn't help. So right now, he's at Lyon. He had a fantastic campaign for the England under 21s that probably helped, you know, get a bit of attraction from different clubs. But in the end, he signed for the French side, and so far so good. They love him over there. They feel like they've got a bargain, and they feel like you know they've cheated Liverpool in regards to signing Talamon for £15 million only. So he's looking good there. His technical ability is definitely used to their advantage, and he's showcasing his abilities there. So yeah, I wish him all the best. It looks like he's really found his rhythm. He's found a club where I feel like they really value him as a player. So yeah, hopefully he has a good campaign for them this season. Another player is James McConnell. Just signed a long-term contract a few days ago, but he's also been loaned to Ajax for the year, so he'll join Yaros as well as former coach in John Heitinga. So I think this is a great move for McConnell. He'll get to play in a league where it's renowned for technical footballers, and especially in the Ajax training facilities, where that is what they feed off. In terms of quick passes, quick touches here and there. So it's going to enhance his technical ability going forward. And I feel like he'll return to Liverpool as a better player. Like I mentioned, for Yaros, he'll be playing Champions League this season as well. So he'll be exposed to playing at that level. And it can only, enhance his ability, but also his reputation going forward. So for me, good long move for him. But I feel like he'll learn a lot, and hopefully he'll come back to Liverpool as a better player. Now, the next player is Harvey Elliott. Unfortunately, he joined Aston Villa yesterday on transfer deadline day. Slightly bittersweet for me because I wanted him to stay, but I do understand sort of why he made that decision to leave. Uh, Game time would have been limited in terms of the squad that we have, and maybe he thought for his own career it's best for him to move on and play his football elsewhere. The deal is a loan move for the season, and I believe Aston Villa have an obligation to buy for £35 million. So that pretty much, secures that move for next season. And I wish him all the best. He's a boyhood red. He's lived out the dream that many of us, have probably had since we were little, where he's got to play for Liverpool. And he's done it to the best of his ability. And some these things happen. When you play at this level, you have to be an elite player to even be around the first team. So for him to gain so many performances over the years, it's a testimony in terms of his ability. So for me, it's a good move for him. But yeah, I would have liked him to have stayed. I feel like he would have given us a bit more squad depth um, for the season, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Just gonna go through some of the comments here. Other comments saying still a sour taste in my mouth. Aussie about Glasner blocked the move. We'll speak about that very shortly. Hopefully Leone can step up when called upon. I think he will. To be fair, other comment says Harvey nabbing the number 9 shirt. Yeah, that never bodes well with me personally. Maybe I'm a bit old school when it comes to uh, players taking that number 9 shirt. Because when I used to play football in my heyday, I was a striker. So if anyone else in the team that I was playing for had number 9 and they weren't a striker, that would really annoy me. So maybe it's just a personal experience that I don't like that. Um, yeah, number 9 should be for the gunman of the team, not an attacking midfielder or winger. So yeah, not sure about the number 9 shirt, but I don't know in terms of what numbers were available. So maybe that's the one that came to his availability, and that's the one he took, I guess. Elliot said, "Yeah, Elliot doesn't look happy in this pick." Um, I don't know if that's his model pose or not, but I've seen in other pictures he's smiling. So yeah, I don't know. He wouldn't be over the moon about this because he's left his boyhood club, but yeah, it might just be these young poses that these young kids do nowadays. Other career, Ozzy was a striker. I was back in my heyday. I was a finisher more than anything else. So yeah, I was a striker. It's not. Were you Milan Jovanovic? Absolutely not. I wasn't. I'm not even right. Well, I'm right-footed, but I'm both-footed as well. As in, I can kick with my left foot quite well as well. But I was nowhere near the level of Jovanovic. So I wish I could, rob a living the way Ivanovic did for Liverpool, but unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough to do that. But back to the outgoings. We also had a young player in Lewis Kumas who left Birmingham City on loan. I think it's a good move for him. He was at Stoke City last year. So for me, it's important for him to continue his development playing at championship level. And, let's see what the future holds. He's definitely a very talented boy. But I don't know if he's, ready to make that step into our first team. Because I feel like we have Gakpo, we have Ekitike Isak that could play in that left-sided role. We've got Rio and Gomorrah, who looks like a very, very special talent as well. So yeah, very difficult to break into the first team. So I feel like it was the right move for him to go out on loan. And Birmingham City are definitely a team that will be challenging for a playoff spot this season. So a good move, I think, for both parties involved. Um, let's have a look. Ben Doak or Ben Gannon Doak. I don't even know Gannon was his middle name. It was never mentioned when he was a Liverpool player, but he made his move to Bournemouth. So Richard Hughes, calling up one of his contacts, saying, "Look, if you want one of our young starlets in Ben Doak, we can do some business," and that's exactly how it panned out. £25 million was the final transfer fee. I think it's a great deal. I was expecting that to be the outcome because he was linked to a move to Palace 6 months ago in January, and we rejected the move because he was in such a great spell for Middlesbrough. We thought, let's, bide our time. Let's wait until the summer and let's see, if he continues to progress with his current team. Unfortunately, he picked up an injury, so it kind of, you know, slowed our valuation or reduced a bit of the price in the end. But 25 million for me, I think it's a great price. And some rival fans were very surprised that we received that kind of fee because many of them haven't heard of Ben Dog. So if it's, if it's Liverpool signing or should I say selling players that are unknown commodity to certain fans, and then we use that money to sign better players, then I'm not mad at that kind of philosophy. So yeah, I think it's a good move for Liverpool. I believe we have a buyback clause for Ben Doak here as well. So I think he's a player that has the potential. Whether he's at a Liverpool standard, I'm not quite so sure. But I think a move to Bournemouth is a great step in his career. He'll be playing under a fantastic coach in Iraola, who really plays proper football. End-to-end stuff, quick football, great in transition. So I feel like that's a great team for him to develop and continue his progression as a player. So for me, a good move in the end for the player. Luis Diaz. Now, this is a move that I really hope that we don't regret in the future because I, for one, didn't want to sell him. I was very much in the camp that he should stay because I wanted to have Diaz play as a left winger, but also due to what he showed as a striker last year, um, I was impressed by his versatility. And I feel like last season was probably one of his best seasons in a Liverpool shirt. So I wasn't quite um, so pleased about him leaving this season. But that's not me being frustrated with the club or the player. I understood his situation where he's not received an improved terms in his current contract or current contract at the time, and Liverpool were not nudging due to his age, and they believed that he wasn't entitled to get a huge pay rise in terms of what he wanted. So because of that, it became more of a financial reason as to why we sold him, and the player got his move to Bayern Munich, where they paid 75 million euros, which is around 65 million pounds, and he managed to get a great contract where he's earning, I think, three times the amount what he was earning with us. So you have to let him do what he's doing. It is a short career when it comes to footballers. So if that's the move that he thought was best for him and his family, you have to respect it. He was very professional. It wasn't really um, going crazy about not, getting a new contract. I think he made his opinions quite clear. He did sort of flirt in the press conferences about talking to other clubs, which I didn't really like. But you know, that's the least that he could have done because other players have probably done a lot worse. So for me, yeah, it's a shame that he's gone. I quite liked what he brought to the table. Some fans not overly pleased, but I feel like he's a very talented player, and so far he's done amazing for Bayern Munich. He's been scoring a lot of goals. They've seen him as a fan favorite already. They really have warmed up to him. So hopefully, it's a move we don't regret in the future, but only time will tell. And the final outgoing of this window was Darwin Nunes, a player that I thought the time was now to sell him on. He's been at the club for about a few years now, hasn't lived up to the bill, and I feel like for everyone involved, it was best for him to move on. For his sake, I feel like he would have gone further down the pecking order, so he needed to go somewhere where he would be playing first team football in order to regain his reputation, but also, you know, increase his chances of being selected for Uruguay in the World Cup next year. And in the end, there was a lot of interest. Napoli were very close to signing, but couldn't agree a deal with us. Juventus, AC Milan were very interested as well. But in the end, he made the move to the Middle East in Saudi Arabia and joined Al Hilal. So, of course, he's gaining a lot of money there. He's probably got a retirement fund set for life already. And he's already hit the ground running. He's been scoring back to back goals. So, he's doing well. We managed to gain a decent amount, 56 million, including add ons was the conclusion. So a good deal in the end. Not, we haven't made too much of a crazy loss, and because we did pay quite a lot for him when we signed him from Benfica. But I think it was the right time for him to move on, and it was the right time for Liverpool to revamp their attack and add a couple of new strikers into the squad. So yeah, I thought it was the right timing for everyone affiliated. Before we speak about incomings, just going to go through some of the comments. Ozan Kabak says, I played right back in high school. Interesting. I think growing up, I pretty much played every position, but once I was 13, 14, that age, that's when, my role was a striker in terms of Sunday league football and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely a finisher. But right now, if I was to play football, I don't know if I'll have the engine to press like Szoboszlai does. But I'll probably still have the finishing ability. It's kind of like boxing. They say you don't never lose your punching power. I probably haven't lost my striking ability when it comes to scoring spectacular goals. So yeah, who knows? Whenever I'll get back onto the pitch, maybe I'll release some footage if I have to, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Ozan Kawat says, just loved clattering into people and picking up cards. Yeah, you sound like a proper Sunday League football player. LFC 20 says, I like being in goal for some reason. Yeah, everyone's got their position. So yeah, being a goalkeeper, you can kind of just like relax a little bit. But then once you make one of those spectacular saves, you're like regarded as the man of the match as well. So yeah, I had a brief spell in goal when I was very, very young. But then I came to realize, yeah, this is not my thing. So took those gloves off, threw it away, and I was like, yeah, I'm an outfield player going forward. Arrows says Glasner owns Liverpool. I wouldn't quite go that far. Whereas Gay's yeah, he's in South London, but he'll be in Liverpool, I'd say, on 1st of January, So yeah, only time will tell. I've even heard rumors that he might even get his contract terminated. I don't think he'll go to that extreme, but he's certainly not a happy person right now. So yeah, let's see what happens because I'm sure we'll get further information about this whole deal. So yeah, it's not been great for him, unfortunately. Stevie so he says Palace getting knocked out of Europa League. Errol says not a Palace fan. Rio. Uh, Errol Epic says not a Newcastle fan. Keep guessing. Grimsby cheated and still won. Not United fan, Steve. Sobo, not an Arsenal fan. Errol, let us know who you support because it's become a bit of a mystery now in terms of who your team is. But back to the show and back to incomings that Liverpool managed to get done in this window. The first one was Mamadashvili. Technically, it was a deal from last year, but he finally arrived um, in this window. Came from Valencia, £25 million plus 4 million add-ons, so totaling to 29 million. A good deal for me in the end. We've signed a player who, in my books, is an upgrade on Kelleher because that's the key here. When you've sold players, you have to make sure whoever comes in is either at the same level or is an upgrade. So for me, Mamadashvili is an upgrade. I feel like Mamadashvili is in that sort of crop of players where he is probably one of the best young goalkeepers out there, and because of that, we've pretty much future-proofed that department for years to come. So still, in terms of question marks in regards to his distribution, which was presented in preseason, but I think those kind of things can be worked on in training. But in terms of his natural ability, he's a fantastic shot stopper. So for me, I think we've signed a really good goalkeeper. And this season, he won't be first choice, but he'll definitely be part of the squad, playing in cup games and utilizing this in the Premier League as well as the Champions League during the season. So for me, still an important player to have in the squad. Um, Next player that kind of came out of the blue because I wasn't too familiar with him, and that was Armin Pekci. He is a young Hungarian goalkeeper that we signed from Puskás Academia for £1.5 million. Wasn't aware of him before, so hopefully, he's at a stage where he can learn and develop within the under 23s. And if we need to, utilize him, he could be used in the Carabao Cup ties. So yeah, let's see, what the young goalkeeper can do. Of course, he's in great company with the likes of Allison and Mama Dashvili. So yeah, for me, he'll be able to really learn the tricks of the trade by being surrounded by so many top quality keepers. So yeah, should be a great learning curve for the young keeper. Uh, we also signed another keeper, not so young. No disrespect to Freddie Woodman, but we signed him on a free transfer from Preston. Wasn't too surprised that we went for a inexperienced goalkeeper because I remember doing a show where I feel like the third goalkeeper was a tricky position for us, especially with Yaros going over to Ajax. I would feel like maybe we do a Scott Carson where we sign an experienced English goalkeeper as first choice, and they can also be listed as a homegrown player because that's what most clubs do in this day and age. And that's exactly what we did. We got someone not far from Liverpool, as a former Preston goalkeeper. And I'll be honest with you, he looked all right in pre-season. Good shot stopper, decent distribution. So not bad keeper to have in the squad. So for me, yeah, not a bad signing. Definitely came under the radar. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad one to be fair. Um, Now, this young defender was signed 2, 3 weeks ago. Surprising one because I thought maybe this would have been the type of sign we would have gone for next year, due to us missing out on our reported target in Dean Huijsen, who of course joined Real Madrid. But Liverpool had another player in mind, and that was Giovanni Leone, a player that they regard very, very highly and have literally earmarked him as one of the best centre backs in the world when it comes to young up and coming players, and so much so that they've see him as a Van Dijk successor as well. So I'm very excited to see how he does in the Liverpool shirt. I've seen him play, of course, in compilation. I haven't watched him live, but I've seen what he's produced last season for Parma, and yeah, boy, does he like defending. He's probably like an Ozan Kabak's type of player. Likes to clatter into players, but he's very physical, very great in the challenges, dominant in the air. I've seen him, ruffle up the likes of Lukaku and Vlahovic in Serie A. So being only 18 years of age and conducting in that way, it shows me that this kid's got something about him. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. And unfortunately, due to us not signing Mark Gay, I'm expecting Leone to get a bit more of a push into the first team. So it should be an interesting one to see how he develops. And if I was to predict, I expect to see him play against Southampton in our third round of the Carabao Cup. So that's the game I feel like we'll get to see Leone in action. Next player is Milos Kerkez, a player that we pretty much knew was our first choice target for left back. It was an area where we felt there has been a slight decline in terms of quality due to Robertson's age and profile. So we always felt like we kind of needed to sign the next Robertson, and I feel like Kerkez looks like that player. He's got the traits of a young Robbo. So for me, it's a great signing, 40 million as well. he did so well last season. He was named in the team of the season by PFA. So for me, it showcases his ability. And looks in terms of his recent career at Liverpool, a couple of games were a bit shaky, but the game and all the performance against Arsenal was definitely, worth the money in terms of what we've paid for. So I feel like we've got a solid left back signing here. I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops going forward. Another player that I felt like was definitely regarded as one of our main targets as well for right back, and that was Jeremy Frimpong. Of course, he replaces Trent Alexander-Arnold, that of course left for Real Madrid. Not a sort of similar profile, but then again, who is a similar profile to Trent Alexander-Arnold in this day and age? Uh, we had to go with a different outlook, different way of um, playing on that right side. So go for a different profile for right back. And I think Frimpong is probably, you know, viewed as the modern fullback where he's energetic, he's pacey, very direct, can play in multiple positions. And I feel like that's what the attraction was of signing Frimpong, where he can play as a wing back, he can play as a right winger. But in whatever position he plays the same way. So for me, he's going to be very effective for us on that right hand side. Unfortunately, he's picked up an injury, so he's out for now, but he should be back in a week or two. So looking forward to seeing him back in action for Liverpool. And for 29.5 million, absolute peanuts in this market. So we've definitely took advantage of his release clause that he had in his contract. And I think he's a fantastic addition to our squad. So yeah, really exciting to know how he plays for Liverpool this season. And the next player, Florian Wirtz. Now, this was a huge surprise when we made the signing official because I didn't feel like he was a Liverpool target. I thought he was destined to join either Bayern Munich or Man City as they were looking to sign a Kevin De Bruyne replacement. But Liverpool came in the mix and Arne Slot blew him away with the project that was presented to him and his parents, who of course represent him as their agents, I guess. So, he was a player that certainly came out of the blue in terms of us being linked with him. And, and then for me, that in the end, signing him as well, it's a dream signing as well. If I'm being honest with you, he's one of those players where I feel like you probably just about buy him on FIFA career mode because he's worth so much in terms of his ability and in terms of his valuation in the game. But overall, I feel like, and I stand by this, he's one of the best number 10s in the world, probably even the best. I'd go as far as saying that in the world right now. And of course, he's going to take time to play his game in the Premier League. The Premier League is not an easy league to adapt to right away. You have to be patient. You have to understand the dynamics of the game. It's played at a very ferocious speed, and he's going to get used to the physicality because what I've noticed recently, when he controls the ball, he expects to have more time than he does, and that's why he keeps getting clattered, and that's why he's getting tackled a lot more so than what we've used to seeing him when he's in a Bayer Leverkusen shirt. So I feel like we've signed a top player. I've got every faith that he will showcase his ability and let people know why he's been known as one of the best number 10s in the world. £100 million deal plus 60 million in add-ons. So some fans will tell you we broke the transfer record there. Maybe we have, but the 100 million is the flat fee and it's add-ons that will add up to 116 in the end. But for me, over the moon about the signing. I'm really excited to see how he develops in a Liverpool shirt as well. Now, Hugo Ekitike, a player that Newcastle fans thought he was destined to join them because they knew that Isak was on the verge of leaving at the time, and they thought they found the natural replacement, a player that some would regard as baby Isak, which I will probably co-sign as well because he shares a lot of similarities to Isak in terms of how he plays and the skill set that he possesses. But this was one of our first signings as in terms of our strikers. £69 million plus I think 10 million in add-ons. Uh, in terms of the market, you're probably thinking that's a bit high, but the market's been a bit crazy when it comes to strikers, so it's not that high because other players around his sort of age or profile have gone for the same amount of money. So for me, he's definitely produced the goods since he's joined the club. He looks like he's ever growing in this role, and I feel like there's a lot more to come to him. He looks like a very special player, so it's going to be interesting to see, how he develops a partnership with other strikers or other players in the team. But I'm very excited. I'm very pleased that we signed him in the end, because we were linked with the likes of Sesko, and thank God we didn't sign him, because for me he was a definite no-no. Um, I'd probably go as far as say I'd rather keep Darwin Nunes than sign Sesko. That's how bad it was for me. That's how much, I don't rate Sesko as a striker. Um, but thankfully, that we don't even have to think like that anymore. And Higuain TK is a red. And look, he's looked really good so far, scoring in back-to-back games. And for me, he will be the player that will definitely be getting a lot more goals this season. But this was the signing that many of us were dreaming of. I pretty much, remained confident or consistent in regards to my stance that he will be a Liverpool player. And look, he is here. I'm over the moon. I've been shameless for the last couple of days, as as you should be when you're signing a player of this caliber. For me, we've signed one of the best strikers in world football. And that it's as simple as that. And I'm so intrigued to see how we fit Ekitike and Isak in the team together. But even if they don't, we've got two top quality strikers in our squad, and we've upgraded, in regards to Darwin Nunes. We've got Chiesa, who played as a striker in pre-season, but I feel like he's better maybe on the left hand side or even on the right side at times. So for me, we've got a lot of quality in our front line. And look, signing for 125 million, it was going to be a British transfer record. Look, he's a Liverpool player now. He's our number nine, a real number nine in our team. So I'm over the moon that we have signed Alexander Isak. At some point, it felt like it wasn't going to happen, but maybe all my praise that I did came to good, and we have Isak at Liverpool now. So yeah, so that was the cherry on top in terms of our conclusion of the window. Unfortunately, a second player was supposed to join in Mark Gahey, and I've got him listed here. He's not officially a Liverpool player, but what I will say that we'll see him in January, because I do believe we will sign him. We'll go back to re-sign him in the next window, so he'll have to just sit tight for the next 2 3 months, and he'll be a Liverpool player eventually. Um, but the way it panned out yesterday was not the way um, things that should have been done. It ended up being distasteful towards the player, because the manager in Oliver Glasner gave the club an ultimatum where if they had sold Mark Gahey, he would have walked out and had in his resignation. So for me, that was a bit of a bitch move in terms of him doing that, because he's a manager. He's not bigger than the club or the players, so he can be replaced quite instantly. So that stance I was quite surprised with, but even further to that, I've read today that um, Steve Parish was in a fitness class and only spoke to Mark Gahey and his advisors at 6 p.m., which only left an hour to conclude the deal. For me, that is outrageous that a person of his position is out, you know, doing yoga or whatever nonsense he was doing in his fitness class um, on the day that is renowned for making last minute deals and concluding your business. Yes, he's probably got people that he's hired to do that, but he's the main man. It's his responsibility to sign everything off. So for him to do that is a rookie mistake, because now Crystal Palace will face the consequences. They will not gain 40 million in the bank, which would have been a big help to their long-term planning, long-term strategy at the club. Whether that money was going to be used on the first team squad or for the youth academy, which I know they are heavily investing in nowadays. They've missed out on a big chunk of money there. And let's be honest, I believe Liverpool will go in the market for him again in January, but I'm not expecting us to bid a high fee. It's not going to be anywhere near £40 million. I'll be honest with you. This might sound cheeky, but I'd place a 10 million bid, and if they don't accept, they'll be like, "All right, fine, we'll take him in the summer for free." So it's either 10 million, take it or leave it. That would be the offer that I would present. Um, so for me, Palace fans are annoyed as well. It's not just Liverpool fans. Palace fans are annoyed. But I'm also feel for Mark Gahey because he did his medical in London. I thought yesterday I mentioned it was in Liverpool, but it wasn't. It was in London that he did the medical. He was with his family, friends, so they were just expecting an official announcement to be made, and then after that he could have headed over to Liverpool and done the media work and all that sort of stuff. But the last minute, they pulled the plug because Oliver Glasner, you know, gave them an ultimatum, and in the end, they folded and decided to listen to the coach and unfortunately deny Mark Gahey of a dream move, and it's a disappointing one for him to take because it was quite obvious that the game against Villa, it was a farewell sort of match where he celebrated his goal like it was a statement for him that this is my last moment with you guys, and even what the way he spoke after the match as well, saying he's from South London and it was an honor for him to captain the club. So that was a farewell statement right there. So it was quite disappointing that it didn't happen for him. I've already seen rumors that he's either deciding to not play for Palace or he's going to be dismissive and not play. He's I've even heard that he doesn't want to be captain anymore. And I've even also heard that he wants to try and terminate his contract. I don't think he'll go to that extent. Um, but some fans have also said that maybe he should have been a bit more selfish in this scenario where he should have had a bit more of an aggressive tone where he was trying to force a move out. That's been the tale of the summer. The likes of Isak, who of course got his move to Liverpool. Johan Wissa, he got his move to Newcastle in the end. Gyökeres did the same thing at Sporting and got his move to Arsenal. So a lot of the players that used player power to get their move got it in the end. Maybe Gay was being too naive or too much of a moral professional to not go down that route. But unfortunately, in the end, he hasn't got his move. So in previous situations, Liverpool don't normally come back for a player if a move hasn't materialized. But I believe we will go for Mark Gahey once again because I think we value him very highly. We view him as someone that could play alongside Van Dijk, but can also be his long-term successor. Due to his profile, his experience, and leadership qualities. So he must be very annoyed and angry right now. But sit tight. We'll rescue you in January. So I think Gay will be a signing for us in January in the end. Um, and that is our review of outgoings and incomings. Before we uh, present the squad, so I want to show you the squad in terms of who we have in the squad, who's the backup for certain positions, and we can kind of assess the quality and the strength and depth of the squad. Um, let's go through some of the comments here. Where do we start with? Errol's revealed he's a City fan. Just seems that was literally his next guess. Double D, big up Double D. He says Woodman was really highly rated when he was much younger. I've heard that as well, actually, that he was very highly regarded. So it's good that we've got someone, but I think it was based on us signing an experienced keeper that fit the homegrown culture. I think that was the main reason. But look, if he was highly regarded, it shows me that he's got good ability to some extent. So it's not too bad to have him as a third choice goalkeeper in the squad. LFC 20 says, let's be honest, the only reason we got Woodman was for the homegrown quota. Definitely one of the reasons. But if he's got a bit of ability about him, then it's all good from our side of the viewpoint there. Double D says 4 words, 1 word, Hugo. Hugo indeed. LFC 20 says Hugo is boss. Hello, he is. Hugo is certainly boss. Um, Other comment says, oh, number nine. Number nine indeed. Look at that. Oh, number nine. He's actually ours. It feels surreal when I look at pictures and I was watching his interview yesterday. And when they asked him, what are your expectations for the season? Like, what do you expect us to do in terms of winning titles? He says, I'm winning everything. I want to win everything. So some people call that arrogance. I call that confidence. And I like the way he conducts himself, he's going to be a joy to watch. He really is. Uh, and Batman said 20 million Jan. I'd give them 10 due to the schoolboy way of operating business that they showed us in this window. I'd give them 10 million. Good morning, Stuart says. Big up, Stuart. Still evening on my side, but yeah, hope you're well. Um, Other comment says, give him the ball and he'll score every time. He certainly will. Double D said, man said he was doing Pilates on deadline day. Honestly, for that to even come out as well, it just shows you that he's a bit of an idiot. And apparently, he has that reputation amongst the director circles of the Premier League. So some people are not surprised in terms of that news that broke today that he was in a fitness class. Honestly, that is shambolic behavior. Like how are you going to go to a fitness class when you know there's a transfer deadline and it's 7 o'clock and you left there feeling all good and well doing Pilates and thinking, yeah, like just gonna go on about your day. Like you messed up someone's future right there because of that stupid class. So God knows what he was thinking. Um Lucy says, my guy Stewart, sports on Verts against Arsenal. Let's see if he gives you a comment there. And Batman says, I'm worried other teams will come in for him. So there were rumors today that Bayern Munich may be interested in, but I don't think he'll go there. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I think they've signed Jonathan Tah, so they should have enough cover for that position. I'm not sure if that would be a move that would interest Mark Gahey. Uh, and Tottenham tried to come up with a last ditch attempt to sign him yesterday, but Mark Gay's been very clear. It's Liverpool. It's only Liverpool for him. So I think he will join us in the end. Whether it's January or the summer, it remains to be seen. My prediction is that I think he will join in January. I think he'll be there on the 1st of Jan. That's how confident I am that he will be there. Stuart says want to see Gay, Rogers, Rodrigo, and Water next summer, or in January without sending any of our first 11. Gay, yes, I agree with that. Rogers, that could be a possibility, especially with us loaning out Harvey Elliott. Can't rule it out. Rodrigo, I don't think Rodrigo would be an option personally. Because if you sign Rogers, Rogers would probably on paper be one of our left-sided attackers, even though he plays his best football as a 10, but can also play on the right wing as well. So for me, I don't think Rodrigo would be an option. It also depend on how certain players develop. The likes of Rio, if he like really announces himself, we might not need to get another left winger. So Rodrigo, I'm not too sure about. Wharton, yes, I think that would be the player that we try to go for. Let's hopefully we do it before transfer deadline, then, because we've got the likes of Steve Parish to deal with, who loves to go to Pilates with here and there. So, um, and you said without selling our first, yeah, hopefully we won't have to sell our first 11. I think we'll just add to our squad more than ever. And Batman says, I'm still hoping Bashley gets fit and comes good. Yeah, I think, if he does regain match fitness, he'll definitely have a chance to play some sort of level of games, whether it's in a cup game or not. He can definitely compete for sport. Why not? So, yeah, he needs to focus himself, try and regain match fitness, and then, yeah, he'll be in contention to be part of the first team fold. Ozan Kabak says, the shade on versus getting old now, let man settle in. Yeah, I think that's towards Drew, Steve, and Stewart's. Because I don't think you guys are quite there, but it's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Um, and my opinion for Verts is that he will come good and he will show everyone why he is a world class player. But that's just how I see it. I've got the patience to let him get used to the league, and then once he does, we'll see the real quality. We'll see the real Florian Verts in a Liverpool shirt. Now, that is the outgoings and incoming. So what we'll do now is I'll present a graphic to show you guys the first team squad, and we'll have the backup players here and there. So let's start. Um, let's start here. So let me skip that ad so it doesn't. There we go. So now in terms of, oh gosh, why is this not? Apologies, this ad is not skipping, it's frozen, but yeah, we can still look at the players on the team. So in terms of the goalkeepers, we've got Alison Becker and Mama Dashwili. So two quality goalkeepers there. And then you've got Woodman and Pexi as your third and fourth choice, if required. Now, in terms of our centre backs, we've got Van Dijk, Konate. So on paper, of course, remember this is on paper. This is not me saying this player is better or this player is going to start every game. This is just who I feel like the first 11 will be the first 11, and then the other players will be the backup on paper. You've got Gomez as Canate's backup, and then Leone as Van Dijk's backup. And then you've got Reece Williams, who unfortunately didn't get a move away from the club. So therefore, it looks like he will remain for the foreseeable future, whether he gets any first team action. I'll be honest with you, I highly doubt it, but he's there on paper, fifth choice, I guess. In terms of our right back, we've got Pong and we've got Conor Bradley. We've also got Calvin Ramsey, who wasn't able to get a loan move away from the club, so he's still a viable option for us. And in terms of left back, we've got Kirkes and Robertson, and we've also got Chambers as well, who's currently injured right now, but could be an option in upcoming Carabao Cup fixtures. In terms of our double pivot, we've got Gravenberg and McAllister, and then we have Jones and Endo as the backups, and then we've also got the likes of Bashtic and Trey Nyoni who can provide cover for that double pivot role. And then in terms of your right wing, we've got Mohamed Salah with Chiesa as his right back. But Chiesa, I think, will be utilized in different roles in the front line. So could play on the left, could play as a striker, could even play as a number 10 if needed. But in terms of players in our youth that could come in and you know be used in that right wing role, you've got the likes of Scanlon, you've got Trent Connor Doherty, and you've got Kite Gordon as well, who was linked to a move to Blackpool on transfer deadline day, but I don't think that materialized. I don't think we'll use any of the three to cover for Salah. It will be Salah, of course, first choice. Then you have Chiesa, and then we'll have the likes of Frimpong, playing as a right winger if needed. So I think those will be the options there. In terms of the left wing, um, annoyingly, there we go. Let me just pull it up a little bit. So we've got, hold on a second. Some reason I can't skip this ad. So you've got Tony Gakpo on that left hand side, and then you've got Rio and Gamoa listed as a left wing backup for Gakpo. Up top, we've got Isak and Ikitike. So drop a comments and let me know your thoughts in regards to the squad. Um, are you happy with the strength in depth, or do you feel like we are lacking in certain areas of the team? My thoughts personally, I would have kept Harvey Elliott for the next 3 months, at least until January or for the remainder of the season, because I feel like he covers right wing and the attacking midfield role for us. And, it would have given us more strength in depth. And Rio wouldn't have been listed as a direct backup for Gakpo, because I think it's too soon to put him in that kind of position. However, I don't think he will be a direct backup for Gakpo. So when I say that, I mean if Gakpo's injured, for example, Rio doesn't just come into the team. It will be where the likes of Ekitike or Isak or Chiesa would be selected ahead of him before Rio is even regarded as a first choice left winger. Um, Also, I think a move for Gay has to be revisited in January. We do have decent, centre back options there, but if we pick up one or two injuries, it could be a huge concern in the long term. So I feel like adding Mark Gay just gives us a bit more steel and stability in that back line. And looking at the double pivot, we look slightly light, if I'm being honest with you. Which is why I've said that next year I think we'll go for a top quality midfielder to add to the squad next summer. But if there's someone else out there that's available in the January window, I wouldn't be surprised if we did target someone, but it will have to be someone that's top of the list. But when someone's top of the list, it comes with huge finances as well. So I feel like the most likely scenario would be that the new centre midfielder signing will happen in the summer of 2026. Um, Let me go through some of the comments before I give you guys my verdict of the whole overall squad. Um, Stewart's commented saying Verts will soon be benched with Szoboszlai playing this well and Isak coming in. He needs to step up. Wasn't looking world class against Arsenal. I totally disagree with that. Szoboszlai has looked good, but he's looked good at right back. He's played 2 games out of 3 at right back. So um, if he's at right back, that means Verts stays in the team. So um, I don't think Szoboszlai will be as effective in that number 10 role in comparison to Verts. So no, I disagree. In terms of Verts stepping up, of course he does. He does need to step up. I'm not saying he's the final article right now. He needs to step up. He's new to the league, guys. I don't know why this isn't like becoming a normal viewpoint. He's new to the league. You know, some players adapt in different ways. You know, when Thierry Henry signed for Arsenal, he wasn't a world beater right away, was he? He took about 6 to 12 months to become the player that he was. So certain players just take certain, time to settle in. And because he's such a technical and silky player, for him, it's not about his ability. I'm not worried about that. My thing is where he needs to be quicker before he receives the ball. You know, he already has the next move painted in his head, but he needs to showcase it at a quicker speed because the way it's played in the Premier League, it's intense, it's ferocious. So you got to be a little bit sharper than what he's shown in recent weeks. But the performance against Arsenal, it was a lot better in my opinion, and I think he'll come good in the end. But I feel like I'm saying very obvious things that he's going to come good, and he's going to show his world class talent in the end because he is a world class player. If you're doubting that, then I completely disagree with you because you're going off based on 3 games. You're not going based off what he's done in his career so far. Before he came to Liverpool, he was regarded as the best number 10 in the world, and because we've got him, you feel like he's not good enough. I don't agree with that at all. So you know, opinions will differ, but that's an opinion I would definitely not agree with. Ozan Kawat says I think Cody will get benched there, and Ekitike will take his place. Um, Potentially, I think Ekitike or Isak might play on that left hand side. But I think, yeah, I think the most likely scenario would be Ekitike on the left and Isak through the middle and Gakpo as one of our attacking options from the bench. I think that's how it will pan out. But that doesn't mean we throw Gakpo away. Gakpo will still be an important player. He'll still be utilized um, in many games going forward this season. So but in terms of if you're trying to present the first team lineup there, I think it will be a critique on the left and Isak through the middle. But both players will be interchanging in the game. That's what I think will happen within our lineups. And Batman said that looks so good seeing Isak. It does. He's just completed our front line there. From the likes of seeing Darwin Nunes, and I don't mean to just throw shade on Darwin Nunes because whenever he played, he gave his best and he did score some decent goals for us. But Isak is a huge upgrade. I can't emphasize how much of an upgrade he is, but he really is. Uh, Other coach says you don't bench your second record transfer, bro, unless it's in a cup game. I agree. I don't know what the narrative is in regards to that. No one's going to change my mind about that. So yeah, if that's people's opinions, it is. But when he showcases his real talent, please do not hide. I need people to come back and return to my streams uh, if you have that opinion, because yeah, I think a lot of people will have to swallow um, their opinions and admit that they were wrong because Verts is an unbelievable player. Honestly, it's like debating if Messi and Ronaldo are good players. That's the kind of level I'm thinking right now. So I don't know. I'm getting a bit annoyed about this. Stuart says, "Did we sell Downs?" No. He did generate a lot of interest from I think it was Championship side regarding loan deals, but Liverpool in the end rebuffed all those offers because he's currently injured. So Liverpool wanted to make sure that he's rehabilitated the way we wanted it, so we don't rush him to full fitness. But I think in the January window, he will be loaned out to a championship side. So that will be something that will be revisited again in the next window. Iron Batman says Frimpong can play right wing too. I totally agree. He would be a right wing option, especially when Salah's at AFCON, or we just need a bit more pace on that right hand side. He's definitely a viable option. Um, Deleuze Steve says Slot is a pragmatic manager that will bench underperforming players. I don't think he'll bench Verts, if I'm being brutally honest. Uh, Iron Batman said Verts had a great second half against Arsenal. He's improving as the game goes on. I feel like he just needs to get accustomed to the way the Premier League's played. It's not going to be easy for him because we saw in preseason, how good of a player he is. But preseason, it's not competitive football, especially in the Premier League level. So for me, um, yeah, well, Verts will showcase his talent very, very soon. I have to agree. Uh, Lucy says, "Oz, I think you're blinded with your passion." No, I've seen so much of Verts over the years that I'm surprised that people are dying. I really am. Um, it doesn't connect in my head because yes, of course, I'm passionate, as you can tell. I'm a passionate Liverpool fan, but for me, I've seen Verts play for Bayer Leverkusen, and I've always thought, oh, imagine if he was a Liverpool, like he was the dream signing I thought was a pipeline dream for us. And now that he's here, people down his quality. I'm not for it. But that's just my opinion. We'll see, how the season unfolds. But I think he'll showcase, why he's one of the best players in world football. That's how I see it. Stuart says Nunes was new to the league until he got sold. He played for 3 years. I wouldn't say that's new. Um, yeah, we didn't buy him last year and sold him, in the same season. He was there for 3 years, so completely disagree with that as well. Sabo looks untouchable right now. Sabo will move in midfield once Frimpong comes back. So unpopular opinion for me. I think Sabozlai will replace McAllister in the team. So I think the double pivot will be Gravenberg, McAllister, and then Verts as your number 10. Because I think Sabozlai gives you more energy on that side, but also he'll be playing on the right side of that double pivot. And because of that, he'll be able to cover Frimpong whenever he bombs down the flank. And also, McAllister doesn't look fully fit yet. So I feel like we need to give him the space to regain full match fitness. And then once he's ready, we can rotate these players here and there. And we did see Gravenberch and Szoboszlai play a number of games in preseason together and looked like a good combination. So that would be my choice. But I do think it will come down to a game on game basis. I don't think it's what I've got on paper, and that's going to be the team for every fixture. I think it'll be based on who the opponents are, how we want to play. Because we will play different shapes as the season goes on. So I think that's going to be the case in terms of our lineups. I don't think it'll be very predictable, as it probably some would kind of assume from last season. Deleuze Steve says, I agree. Sobo has phenomenal. Oh, he has been phenomenal without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think that's in dispute. Verts is Messi and CR7 levels is my name. Deleuze Steve or Logical Steve? Look, when I'm comparing those kind of analogies, Messi has always been regarded as one of the best players in his position. CR7 was always regarded as one of the best players in his position as a winger. Verts in this day and age is regarded as one of the best number 10s in world football. Name me five number 10s that are better than Verts, and then we can have a discussion based on that because I don't think there are many better than Florian Verts. So that's just my opinion. But I'm not saying he's Messi or CR7, but in this current climate where you've got players that are playing in their positions and when you have to put them in categories, who's the best in that position? Like number six, who's the best number six in the world? For me, it's Rodri. So who's the best striker in the world? Probably Haaland. Might have to put Isak in the mix, but Isak isn't far off. So it depends how you see the game. Like the right winger, who's the best right winger in the world? For me, Salah. So I'm not saying Salah's Messi or CR7, but I'm saying currently these are the best players in their current position. So, you know, whether you agree or not, it's all good. But um, yeah, I don't think I'm not deluded Oz in this situation. I'm logical Oz because I've seen you know Seen Verts for a number of years now. He's an elite talent. Stewart says Florian could be an option on the left, but with Isak and Ekitike, I don't think there's a space for him over there at the moment. He could be an option for the left. I think there will be games where we might utilize him in that role, but I think he's more influential or more impactful playing in that number 10 role, where he's got more of a free role. He's able to dictate the tempo of the game from the final third. So I think that's his natural position. But he can play in that left wing role. I would say that. Uh, Florian, still says Florian is a CR7 or Messi level only in your dreams. That's an insult to the goats. Uh, boy, who's the best number 10 in the world? Give me your opinion then. Who's the best number 10 in the world? Because as I just explained, Messi was the best in his position over the years. CR7 was the best winger in his position over the years. Right now, in 2025, who is the best number 10 in the world? Because Messi and CR7, they're not those guys anymore because they're on the latter stages of their career. So who's the best number 10 in the world? I'd love to hear from you. Because if you're giving me names like Cherky and then, them kind of guys, then you're talking nonsense. Kevin De Bruyne, possibly, but he's on a decline now as well. So let me know who's your number 10, because for me, it's Florian Wirtz. Hands down, Florian Wirtz is the best number 10 in the world, in my opinion. I can't believe Oz just said that to Stewart's. No, I've got to say how I say it. If that's my opinion, that's my opinion. So, um, and Batman said, is Wirtz more of a Griezmann? No, I wouldn't classify him as a Griezmann type player. I think in Liverpool terms, versus like a Coutinho. That's the kind of comparison I would give, where he's very skill tunable, very technical. Um, his his sort of final pass is very underrated. He's the one that's going to unlock those stubborn defenses that we've had to face over the last season under Arne Slot. Um, and he's got great, shooting ability, great passing range, very skillful, very good with his dribbling as well. Like, when he has the ball, he's attracting 2, 3 players, and because of that, you're giving up a lot more space to our attackers. And with the likes of Isak and Ekitike in the team, we're really going to unlock a lot of doors in the coming season. So, for me, not Griezmann, but Coutinho would be the one that I would look at in terms of a Liverpool comparison. I think that's the player that I think he's, on level with, or in terms of the similarities, in terms of stylistically. So that would be my comparison for Florian Wirtz. So if Liverpool hasn't paid big for Florian, there's no way he would have been starting presently. I strongly disagree with that as well. It's not the transfer fee that gets him into the lineup; it's his ability. Honestly, I don't think you guys have seen Florian Wirtz play football before he was a Liverpool player. Because if you have, you wouldn't have had this opinion. Uh, Bjorn, big up yourself. He says Sobo in for Salah. Salah is not good for 3 games. This is just the overview of our squad based on the transfer window. Um, but I wouldn't put in Szoboszlai ahead of Salah. Even though I know Szoboszlai has played right wing in the past, but no, I think Salah. He's one of those players, especially at this stage of his career, where I don't think he needs to produce 10 out of 10, performances, but he'll be able to produce those clutch moments where he'll present the defining through ball to the striker, or he'll score the winning goal. That's the kind of player he is now. So some may not like it because he might be quiet, but then all the world class players over the years have that knack where they might not be impactful during the game, but all of a sudden, boom, they get into a one v one situation, or in a very pressurized situation, and they produce the final product, and that's what gets the plaudits as well. So that's the kind of play. He's a big time player, so I don't expect Szoboszlai to replace him, but I can see Szoboszlai possibly replacing McAllister in the next few games until he regains his full match fitness. This is Oz, you're my guy, but that's a wild take. Is that in regards to Verts, the CR7? That's for me, Verts is the best number 10. Let me know in the chat who is the best number 10 in the world right now. Then I can kind of see, what you're thinking in terms of, who you regard as the best player in that position. Because I don't think there's many players that are better than Verts, but let me know in the chat. Um, Stuart says Coutinho set the league on from his first game, but Florian has played 3 games without anything memorable about him. The comparison is an insult to our Brazilian magician. He's not our Brazilian magician now. If you look at the history, he stabbed us in the back the way he left Liverpool. So I don't hold Coutinho in high regards anymore. So if you do, that's your own angle there because I don't. He pretty much cheated, he faked an injury to leave the club. So I don't respect people when they do that kind of move. So if you do, then that is up to you. But you're comparing Coutinho's debut to Florian Wirtz's 3 games. So are we just doing, first few game comparisons and then that labels their whole career? Come on now. That's just very shallow way of doing comparison between players. You have to look at what they produced in their career. Florian Wirtz has produced a lot of good games for Leverkusen, for Germany. There's a reason why we spent that money. Like, are you saying, that you doubt the judgment from Michael Edwards and Arne Slot and Richard Hughes because we spent so much? Are you doubting their credentials? Because let me know what you think of this window. I'm gonna give my rating very shortly in terms of what I think. This window has been for Liverpool. So let me know your rating because you're clearly doubting our sort of scouts and all our hard work to find these players, and you're doubting someone that, in my eyes, and not even my eyes, I'm not just the only one. Ask anyone else. I feel like it's such a renowned opinion, but Florian Wirtz is world class. Have you heard what rival fans had said about Florian Wirtz when we signed him? They were shitting themselves. So, I don't know what the agenda is. I find it really bizarre. I really do that you're doubting Florian Wirtz. So when he produces those elite performances that I'm talking about, don't come back. Don't forget to come back on the channel. That's all I'm going to say because I'm finding it crazy in terms of what you're saying about Florian Wirtz and the disrespectful opinion that you have for Florian Wirtz. But you know, you're going off, short-term views in terms of first 3 games and all that kind of stuff. So if that's your narrative, that is your narrative. But that is your opinion as well. Liverpool continues far superior to Florian. So you're basing off Coutinho's career to Florian Wirtz's 3 games that he's played. Great comparison. Really good comparison there. Uh, Musiala, Jude. I wouldn't say Jude is better than Florian Wirtz. Musiala, great debate, to be fair. Of course, Musiala is not fit. He's injured. So currently he's not available then, is he? But I think that would be the closest player. But then again, I wouldn't classify Musiala as a 10 because he normally plays on the left side. That's why Bayern Munich wanted to sign Florian Wirtz because they wanted to move Musiala to the left and they wanted Florian Wirtz in the number 10 role. But of course, because we stole Florian Wirtz from him, from them, I should say, they've had to go on and come up with plan B, and that plan B and that being Luis Diaz. So, um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think Musiala is a close one to be fair. I think Cole Palmer, no. Cole Palmer has been dead for the last year, no. On his heyday, yes, he could be regarded as one of the best, but better than Florian Wirtz, no. Completely disagree with that one. Coutinho started better even without prior EPO experience. What did he produce that was so elite in your head that you keep who were the games against? Like, give me the context now because I'm finding this ridiculous. I really am. Florian is overhyped. He's decent for now, but comparing to Messi as well, you're not listening. I'm not comparing him to Messi. What I'm saying is, over the years, everyone would have said Messi was the best number 10 of that era, right? Messi is not of that era anymore because there's a new generation now. Messi is playing in Miami. Do you understand? So in Europe, I've asked you the question, who is the best number 10 in the world right now? For me, it's Florian Wirtz, based on what he's done over the years. Give me your number 10 right now. Julius Stevens has gone for Musiala, which, to be fair, it's a great debate. I'm not going to dismiss that. I think it's a great debate. But for me, I would put Florian Wirtz ahead of him. And I'm not doing that because he's a Liverpool player. If we had this discussion last year when he was a Bayer Leverkusen player, I would still have told you Florian Wirtz is the best number 10 in the world. So for me, it's not a crazy opinion. I'm not being so blinded because he's a Liverpool player. I'm not saying things like Kirk is the best left back in the world. Have you ever heard me say that? No. So for me, Florian Wirtz is one of the best number 10s in the world. That's why I say one of the best because there's always arguments and no one's always going to be the clear winner because it's based on how you see the game. But the opinions I'm hearing about Wirtz today is absolutely wild. But that's just my take there. He's not beyond crazy in Oz. That's the point. But I've criticized him. You guys follow the channel. You guys, there's a lot of you that I know in terms of, you've come on the show quite a lot. You've commented. You've been part of the engagement. I appreciate that as well. You've seen my match reactions. I've given Florian Wirtz 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Are those great scores for a player? No. So I've been very honest with my assessment. I still believe he's going to showcase his ability as one of the best number 10s in the world. But in current form, no, he's been average. He's been 4, he's been 5. I think the last week I may have given him 6, but that's slight improvements there. So I'm not going to base my football opinion on a player based on 3 games. That's ludicrous. Why would I base my opinion on a player for playing 3 football games? That does not make sense. I've seen him for years. My opinion is based on seeing him for years. So if that is my opinion, that is my opinion. I'm not gonna go based on what I've seen in the Liverpool shirt because that's ridiculous for you to base that opinion on him like that. So if that's the case, why did we sign Alexander Isak? Ekitike scored back-to-back goals in 3 games. Why did we go and get Isak? We don't need Isak, right? Would that not be your same viewpoint as well? Ekitike is the best striker in the world because he scored 3 goals in 3 games. So you're painting your own narrative because you don't rate the player, but I genuinely don't think you've seen a player play. You may have seen compilations, but I've seen the guy play 90 minutes on numerous occasions. So that's just my view. I'm finding this really wild. Honestly, I feel like I'm losing my head. Uh, I want him to do well. I'm not doubting you, Steve, but I feel like Stewart's is not wanting him to do well. That's what it sounds like in my eyes. But it is what it is. Most teams don't play with number 10s. That is true. That is a kind of position that is deteriorating a little bit, but there are still teams that play that formation. So you named me a couple of players. So there are players where, you know, when it comes to formation, of course, when I present on the screen, it seems very static, but players move around and they transition in different roles. So for me, there'll be certain players that are playing as a 10, but they're coming from the left side, which Florian Wirtz used to do for Bayer Leverkusen, for example. So it just depends how you view the game. Um, But yeah, I'm quite shocked in terms of the opinions today. But we're here for football discussion, so this is how it is sometimes. Aaron Batman says Phil Foden. No way, Phil Foden is not better than Florian Wirtz. Never. I'm not buying that at all. Foden and Palmer up there. No, they're not. They're up there. Yeah, they're in the top 10, but they're not better than Florian Wirtz. I would honestly not. Um, NFC Twin says to do Steve, can you change your name to Sensible and give the delete to Stewart's? Yeah, I don't. I feel like Steve, he keeps it 100, but yeah, might have to give the delete one to Stewart if he wants to change his title. Steve start laughing there. Uh, Stewart says you said the best, not one of the best. For me, he's the best. That's my opinion. But I'm asking you, who do you see as one of the best? Because you don't see him as the best. So I want to see a few players that you rank as a top 3. Give me your top 3 then. Because the Steve gave me a couple of names there. You've got Iron Batman saying Phil Foden. You said Foden and Palmer better than Vance. No, not for me. Not for me. I'm not saying, and when I say it's not for me, I'm not saying that these guys are shit and Florian Wirtz is miles ahead of them. It probably is marginal, but for me, no. I've seen a lot of Wirtz where I'm like, this guy is head and shoulders above Palmer and Foden, in my opinion. But this is why we're here. This is why we're having football discussions. Uh, Florian has a lot of potential. Potential sounds disrespectful, but okay. But I think we should allow him to grow into the stature rather than place him where he doesn't belong yet. So you don't think he belongs as one of the best number 10s in the world? Okay, that is your opinion. I completely disagree. Before he came to Liverpool, he was regarded one of the best number 10s in the world. When the season ended and you ask Man City fans, who do they want to sign as the successor to Kevin De Bruyne? 9 out of 10, everyone said De Bruyne. I'm sorry, everyone said Florian Wirtz to replace De Bruyne. I don't think there was any other. Some names would have been like, who else, I don't know who else they would have said. They would have said Foden maybe play as a number 10 or Musiala, because Musiala was strongly linked with them as well. But 9 out of 10, it was Florian Wirtz. So does that mean that these fans have no football knowledge? I don't know. That's what you're saying. It. So Amber said Kevin De Bruyne is the best. Yeah, but as in now he's in decline. He's not even at Man City anymore. Because I feel like as you get older, of course it happens, isn't it? But in terms of the last 5, 10 years, of course, I don't think that's even a debate. Kevin De Bruyne has been one of the best number 10s or best attacking midfielders in Premier League history, in my opinion. He's been absolutely elite. But now, unfortunately, he's not that guy. So that's why, he's not at the Man City team anymore. And he's moved on to play at Napoli, which I saw a couple highlights as well, and he's not looking great there either. So age does catch up with you, at certain parts of a footballer's career. Um, and seriously, I have my opinion, and that's based on what I've seen so far. Yeah, based on what you've seen in the last 3 games, that is your opinion. I don't think you've seen Verts before he was a Liverpool player. That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't think you have. You may have seen highlights or compilations. I've seen him play in plenty of games. So for me, that's why I'm very confused, because if you had watched Florian Wirtz over the years, you would not be so disrespectful to him, where you're doubting him as a good player. I don't think you even regard him as a good player. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from you. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess. And Lucy said KDB was. Yeah, he was. Of course, it happens to players, when they get to the latter stage of his career. But yeah, he was by far one of the best number 10s in the world. Okay, now back to the show. We kind of went a bit off track there. Um, so that's the squad. So that's my assessment, where I feel like, we've got some good strength and depth in there. But the big question, or the verdict, can Liverpool challenge for major honours? In my opinion, yes. I believe they can challenge for major honours. I believe we have the quality in the squad. With the sign of Isak, I believe he brings a fear factor to our opponents. Um, and look at all of the signings that we've made. Of course, we've got Pexus Youngs, but I'm talking about the first team players that we've signed. They are very high quality. But in any scenario, when you do these predictions or these squad analysis throughout the season, you need to have Lady Luck on your side when it comes to injuries. And unfortunately, when you have 1 or 2 players missing, it can impact the whole team altogether. Uh, but I think if most of the squad can stay fit, it should be a very exciting and successful season for Liverpool. Of course, if we had signed Mark Gahey, I probably would have spoken with a little bit more arrogance today. I'd probably even go far as to say we're going to win the quad. Um, but rather than saying it with arrogance, I'm confident that we will challenge, and I think we'll go on to win multiple trophies. Whether that's 2 or 3 or 4, it remains to be seen. But I think it will just depend in terms of how we start this season. I think we'll retain the Premier League title, and I think we can. I think we'll go on to win the Champions League. That would be the second trophy I think we'll win. The domestic cups will depend on the squad and all that sort of stuff, but I'm predicting a double at least. So drop a comment, let me know what you're predicting. Do you think this squad is good enough to win back-to-back titles and also challenge for the other trophies in this season? So let me know what you guys think. Now, in terms of my transfer window rating, um, I'm going to give this rating a 9.5 out of 10. And the reason why I haven't given it a 10 is because we couldn't get Mark Gay. I know I might be clutching here. Um, Otherwise, I think this would have been the perfect window. Arguable to say maybe we should have signed a winger as well, because we haven't really got a direct replacement for Diaz. But I believe we have enough strength and depth for the left wing and for the other attacking roles in the squad. Um, but I'm giving it a 9.5. So let me know your scores in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on replay. What is your overall rating of the transfer window. I'm giving it a 9.5. So that is my rating for today. Just gonna go through. We've got a couple of comments here, and then we'll close the show. LFC 20 says compare Verts and Foden last season in terms of numbers, or Foden was shit last season. Foden was terrible last season. That's the wrong comparison. So no, I disagree with that. Like, if you want me to do stats, I can do stats, but I don't want to waste time, looking for stats. But from the eye, Foden was terrible. It's one of his worst seasons ever. And that was also because you have to put a bit of context. He had personal issues, in his life, and he wasn't playing to his level. But no, I'm gonna have to bring on the stats now just to see, because I haven't checked. It's not something I do where I just check stats just to go based on football opinions. My thing has always been eye test. I watch a lot of football, so that is my opinion in terms of how I see certain players. But Phil Foden had one of his worst seasons last year, so I don't know if that is the right comparison, but we can double check now. So Phil Foden last season. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Um, Last season. So in all competition, actually, should we include that? Mm, Let me share the screen with you guys so it's a bit more clear for you to see as well. So you see what I'm seeing. Uh, Here we go. So we've got, it says 49 performed because of the Club World Cup, but I'm going to reduce that to 4 because I'm not including a preseason tournament as that. So it'll be 45 appearances last year. Um, it would have been 10 goals and it would have been 6 assists. So 45, 10, and 6 assists. So 16 GA in 45 games. That's not great, but that is the comparison that you wanted. And let's see for inverts his stats for last year. Let's have a look. So they play the same amount of games. So if you can, yes, you guys should be able to see. So if you can't, it is 45 appearances last year, 16 goals and 15 assists, which equals to 31 GA in 45 games. So yeah, apparently Foden's better. Okay. And LFC 20, I'm not having a go at you, LFC 20. You said Stuart thinks Foden's better than Verts. So yeah, that's why I did the comparison. So for me, I don't always like to bring stats because I feel like when it comes to discussions, we watch the same game, so it should be where you know it should be based on what we see on the pitch. Uh, but stats can be brought into this sort of comparison or this scenario. And look, by far he had the better season. So it's not even, it's not even a debate, is it? So yeah, thanks for raising up because that's proved another point of mine there. Stuart says, "Is Eberechi a number 10? If yes, then you think Eze is better than Verts?" Wow. Stuart, are you a Liverpool fan? I have to doubt it now. If I'm being, I feel like you're an Arsenal fan. I think you're trolling us. Wow. I rate Eze. Like, if you guys have followed me on this channel, I've read Eze for years. Since I've started this channel, I've been talking about Eze for a long time. 'Cause I've watched his career from QPR days. So, I know, into how Eze has progressed over the years. Um, and I was very pleased that he got his move to Arsenal because I think it was fully deserving based on what he's done in his Crystal Palace career. But he's not better than Verts. I think if you even ask Eze, he'll say to you, no, he's not better than Verts. So, but yeah, that's your opinion. Students, I'm not here to dismiss anyone's, opinions or anything like that. But I strongly disagree with a lot of things you've said today. But that is the art of a debate. So say he looks a player that will fit Arsenal as has nothing to do with Florian Wirtz. You've not heard what I've just said, but it's fine. I'm not saying I'm saying he's a good signing for Arsenal because he's a good player, he's a talented player. But Eze is not better than Verts at all. Eze is a good player. Verts is world class. Two different leagues, two different categories. I just showed you the Foden and the Verts comparison. What do you say about that? You haven't commented about that, so you're not comparing them. So then why did you mention Eze then? What's Eze got to do with this? So if you mention Eze, is Eze number 10? There's a that means you're comparison because the whole discussion for the last 10, 15 minutes has been about Verts being a 10. So if you're throwing a name out there, it's because it's part of the conversation. So you said Foden's better, right? Foden had a shit season for Man City last year. Verts had 31 GA. The other guy had probably about 10 or 15. Double. Double the stats. And you think he's better than him? Come on now. Let's not get silly. Uh, but that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I didn't expect it to get heated or animated from my point of view. I thought this was going to be a calm, collected transfer window analysis type of show, but that is the art of doing this sort of content. You never know uh, what happens in these kind of shows. But shout out to let's go from the top. Oz and Kabak. Shout out to LFC 20. Shout out to Errol, the Man City fan. Shout out to Drew Steve. Shout out to Double D. Be out yourself as always. Shout out to I'm Batman. Shout out to Stuart's in the end with your crazy opinions. Shout out to who else do we have? I think that is it because a lot of the conversation. And sorry, shout out to you, Bjorn, as well. Appreciate you. I think it's the first time you've commented on the show, so thank you for your comments. Appreciate your engagement today. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, I plan on doing a Premier League prediction show. Um, Hopefully, I'll be able to do it tomorrow. If not, it will be done on Thursday. So I'll just have to check my schedule. And because there's no upcoming games this week, um, I thought maybe it's worth me doing other things, from a personal point of view. So what I'll do, I will if we're doing a show tomorrow, the best thing to do, as always, is hit that notification bell so you know exactly what time I'm going live and what time a show is going to take place. Because if it's not tomorrow, it will be on Thursday, hopefully. So I'll do a Premier League prediction. So I'll present my sort of thoughts and analysis of everyone's squad because a lot of teams did a lot of business on the transfer deadline day. So I need to make sure, I'm glued on and know, who's signed for certain clubs. Like, for example, I didn't even know until today that Gutruta signed for Sunderland. I thought that's a fantastic signing for them. So, these things I have to just make sure. And once I've assessed it, then I'll give you my prediction in terms of how the Premier League table will look like next season. And I think that will be the next scheduled show. And then after that, um, I don't want to make promises, but we'll try and do some content. Uh, if not, I might take some time off for personal reasons and then return next week as Liverpool will be facing Burnley. So that will be the match preview. That will be on the next Thursday. If I'm not able to do much content this week and next week. Just got a few comments there before we close the show. Let me see which one's the last comment. Still wanted to divert the discussion because it was getting boring and too prolonged. That's your opinion. If you don't like the content, you are feel free to close the show or close your tab wherever you're watching it. If you feel like it's too boring, if you don't like the content, you're free to unsubscribe as well. I'm not here to, you know, force you to keep watching my shows. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, feel free to watch another show. So yeah, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. LFC 20 says you're comparing them when you say one is better than the other. Exactly. That's based on the Foden and the Verts comparison. Comparing Foden with Foden, not Eze. Yeah, but then we've just shown you the comparison of the stats, and you haven't said much about that. So, you know, you've said a lot of things in the last few weeks. Um, I remember one show where you were like, "The Liverpool owners are terrible. We're not gonna sign any player. We're not gonna sign Isak. It's not a party if it's Isak." So where's the energy for that now? You going to reconcile? Are you going to state your comments based on those things you said as well? Because I'm expecting apologies from you because I've been very strong with my stance that Isak will sign. He's signed, but you haven't said anything. So you're quick to be a bit negative with all these comments, but you don't really want to dish it out when it comes to your way. So if that's how you are, that's how you are. But if you don't like the content, you find it boring, you don't have to watch the show. I don't know you personally, so you're not obliged to be here. But it is what it is. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. LFC is saying big up, Ozzy, big up yourself. LFC is 20. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.